My top 3 superheroes? Easy. Captain America, Spider-Man, Superman. Any rankings beyond that, though, the numbers and who's attached to them tend to change pretty frequently. The Hulk, Leonardo, Captain Marvel, Firestar, The Question, the Max. To be honest, I don't spend a lot of time keeping lists like this in order, not my thing. But what I will say is that one guy who always has a place somewhere in my top 10 is Animal Man. Haven't heard of him? Well, good. It's been too long since we did one of these.
Comics are weird.
I love Animal Man, real name Buddy Baker, in part because he has one of the silliest powers ever. He can make psychic contact with any non-human animal and temporarily borrow their powers. In this case, powers meaning things animals can just do, like flying, breathing underwater, running fast, etc. And if that's not silly enough, it happens, in the original version of the character at least, without any physiological changes, meaning that when Animal Man gains the ability to fly from a bird, he doesn't just grow wings, he flies. Yeah, that's it. Animal Man was created in 1965 by Dave Wood and Carmine Infantino, and he never really caught on for reasons that should be pretty obvious. There's only so many times you can watch a guy in an orange onesie do generic superhero stuff accompanied by overstuffed thought balloons explaining which animal powers he's using at that particular moment in time. So he went largely unused until the 1983 team-up book Forgotten Heroes and a subsequent cameo during Crisis on Infinite Earths. But in 1988, as part of the same wave of DC hiring edgy British writers to reimagine obscure characters that gave the world Alan Moore's Swamp Thing and Neil Gaiman's Sandman, then newcomer Grant Morrison got a green light to reimagine Animal Man as a working-class superhero raising a family in the suburbs in a dark, politically conscious series mainly about Morrison's own commitment to animal rights activism, and also tied into the mainstream DC Universe continuity with Buddy Baker joining the Justice League International and having adventures with other obscure figures like Vixen and Buona Beast, and exploring the more esoteric implications of his own powers, like, say, borrowing the abilities of a cold germ and multiplying into an army of clones. And that was before it got weird.
Hey, it's me. I just wanted to break in. I don't usually do this, but this pod is going to have some spoilers, and I'd feel bad if I didn't at least suggest that, look, the Grant Morrison issues of Animal Man, there's only 26 of them. They're collected in trades. There's an omnibus now. You know, if this, what I've been talking about sounds interesting to you at all, and maybe you want to read it for yourself, you know, bookmark this video for later, track down the original comics, read them. There's an omnibus version. It's very good now. You know, for the rest of you, please keep watching, but yeah, just in case, spoiler warning, I'm gonna give away the good stuff.
So yeah, a mere 5 issues into the book, Morrison does a story called Coyote Gospel, where Animal Man meets an upright walking, intelligent coyote who somehow keeps coming back to life after being repeatedly and violently killed by a revenge-crazed trucker in the desert. And before you can say, no, this can't possibly be what it sounds like, it is. We learn that Crafty Coyote is a cartoon character banished to the real world by his creator after questioning why cartoons had to live an endless cycle of violence to suffer in place of his brethren, and wow, those last 2 panels. Yeah, in 5 issues, Morrison had gone from, hey guys, Animal Man is back and he's really upset about factory farming and animal testing, to, hey, Wile E. Coyote and Jesus Christ are kind of the same guy, right? But Coyote Gospel wound up being a hugely popular and roundly praised story, even winning the Eisner for Best Individual Issue in 1989, which convinced DC to offer Morrison an extended run on the book and encourage Morrison himself to go all in on elements of metafiction and philosophy he'd been quietly seeding into the background of the narrative, and the result was one of the all-time great mindfuck runs in mainstream superhero comics. You see, as the story continued after Coyote Gospel, things started to go bad for Buddy Baker, including but not limited to adventures where he was clearly in over his head, his animal rights crusading taking dark turns into collateral damage, and eventually the politically motivated assassination of his wife and children. He also starts to notice that his memories of his own past don't all fit together properly, and that he's not the only superhero with that problem, and that people in his supporting cast are starting to disappear, but not in the now you see me, now you don't kind of way, in a drawing being erased from a comic book way. Yeah. Also involved in Animal Man's metafictional downward spiral, a visit to a limbo for fictional characters who've been written out of existence, and an encounter with the supervillain turned asylum inmate Psycho Pirate, aka the only person who remembers the pre-crisis DC universe. Now keep in mind, this is all supposed to be taking place in the real DC universe itself, which effectively means that Buddy Baker's slowly dawning, existentially horrifying realization that he and everything he knows are pieces of comic book fiction is implicitly becoming canon for everyone else. That's ballsy, and it all comes to a head in a legendarily creepy moment where Animal Man finds himself being railed against by his own pre-crisis self, and in one of the most famous comic book panels ever, realizes suddenly that he can now see you, the reader, looking at him from outside the panels. That is some chilling shit. And in issue number 26, the story reaches an ending as Animal Man ultimately confronts the cruel mastermind who's been behind all of his recent suffering. Comic book writer Grant Morrison. Yeah, really, Morrison effectively writing himself into the DC universe to fulfill the God role in a God argues with Adam exchange sounds like the most pretentious thing possible, and it kind of is, but it's so audacious that it actually works, especially since he spends most of the conversation copping to the animal rights stuff getting too preachy and killing off Buddy's family entirely because it was a cheap way to increase the drama. As for the ending to all of this, you know what, go read it yourself. Like I said, it's pretty goddamn incredible. As you might expect, issue 26 was Morrison's last turn on the series. Other writers have helmed the character since, but never to the same long-term success, though Animal Man did make a memorable showing in the similarly excellent Mega Series 52. They also just did a version recently where he morphs into animal forms instead of gaining their powers, which, like I said, makes him feel a lot less fun somehow. So that's why I love Animal Man and why you should check out that particular series of Animal Man comics. I seriously doubt we'll ever get like an Animal Man movie or a series, but come on, now you kind of want one, right?